Buongiorno a tutti. Hello to everybody. This is a new episode of War Room Italia. Today I have a fantastic guest. He's a very important American journalist, and he's back to tell the Italian audience what is going on in the United States, especially now after this terrible attempt on President Trump's life. So, of course, as always, this interview will be entirely in English, and then I will be translating this same interview in Italian for the Italian people. So this will be an interview directed to the Italian people, but of course in English, everybody can follow it. So my guest is Joe Hoft from the Gateway Pundit. Here he is. Benvenuto. Welcome, Joe.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So honored. Thank you. This is the first time you are in War Room Italia, right?
I know. It's so exciting. So happy to see you here.
Yes. And we met as when I worked on Visione TV. It's another channel, an Italian channel of alternative media. Now I have my own channel, and here is Joe. I invited him because, of course, we want in Italy to better understand how is the feeling in the United States right now after it has been a historic few days, apart from this attempted assassination that left the whole world shocked. It's been a year filled with political assassinations or attempted assassinations, like the Fico in Slovakia. He also escaped death by a miracle, and he is back in office. And they are trying really to get out many people. It's incredible. It seems like the globalists just decided to try to eliminate physically all the opposition to the Great Reset. This is how I see it. And what do you analyze by this? Do you think it was just this attack on Trump's life? Was it just a crazy boy who did it, or what do you think about this, please? What is the narrative that the conspiracy theories that are being told around the United States right now to explain what happened?
There's a lot of conspiracy theories that were immediately. Some of them are true, though, and it's an honor to be here with you, Guya. I just so thrilled. Love the War Room in the United States. Love Steve Bannon. He's a good friend, I would say. He loves both Jim and I at the Gateway Pundit, and is a real patriot. And I'm actually on with him daily at Frank's Speech / Lindell TV / Conservative Daily, where Steve has a show 4 hours every day. I have 1 hour. Rudy Giuliani now has joined us. He has an hour. We have Lou Dobbs, a famous journalist that was with CNN and Fox, who's with us, as well as some great other patriots. So it's an honor to be with the War Room at any time. We're praying for Steve because he's in prison now, and this is the attacks that we're seeing against President Trump and anybody that stands up against the regime, against the lies, and anybody who stands for the truth. And that's what's happening right now. We're standing for the truth, and we're being attacked. I'll put this piece in too, and thank you for mentioning to me earlier about my books. I've written 3 books on the steal, and they are about the 2020 election, and they've been consolidated into a book in Italian. So maybe I could allow you to mention something about that, because you've really helped me so much in that effort.
Absolutely. So I'm going to be putting up all the links to your show and also to the other people you mentioned for the Italian people to go and check if they wish to know more, for the Italian people who speak English, so they know how to reach you or follow you. And the steal. The steal is the steal. Every American should buy the steal, because they have to understand how the cheating works in order to avoid being duped, is the word, themselves. So if you know how the cheating works, then you can recognize when you see something of that sort happening. And your book is incredible. Your three books, the before, the during, and after of the steal. And so it was such a for me it was so important, because the way they steal the elections in America, maybe not precisely like this in every country, but every country has its own fashion of stealing. Okay, so people can read and see how things have been done, because the work you did is unparalleled. I have never seen one that analyzed in detail and also tells the whole story from the beginning, before the steal went on, during the night, and after, and the reaction and the cover up, which is part of the steal. The cover up is part of the coup d'etat that went on. Okay, it's still going on, the coup d'etat in America.
Yes.
The media are still actively working to try to not allow Americans to express through a democratic system, which is voting, their preferred president. So it was so important for me to show this to the Italians, and we put it together in this book, and this is the cover in Italian, Il Furto. So for the Italo-Americani out there, you can buy it in Italian.
Yes. Yes, and thank you so much. I really don't know how to thank you. You've been so instrumental in making the steal in Italian a reality. So really,
Yes.
thank you. And
Thank
so I
you.
do, and I base that on my background, which was in corporate audit. I did audits around the world, never in Italy, but I've done them everywhere. And I was talking to my brother Jim, and I'm sorry to jump off topic here a moment, but
No,
I
please
was
do.
talking to Jim the other day, and I said, I've done audits in communist China. This, communist China, I've done audits, and never have they said to me, even in communist China, anybody, no, you can't have the evidence, no, you can't provide this. And that's what we've been seeing, especially in states like Georgia, where they still have documents caught up in the courts that people can't get at from the election, hundreds of thousands of ballots, as well as ballot images, which we understand have been destroyed in that state. So 1.7 million ballot images were destroyed, according to one expert. So this is the kind of stuff that's just shocking and frightening. And this was the middle, I'd say, of the assassination plot against President Trump. It started with Russia collusion. They tried to say Trump's connected to Putin and he's puppet, and that was a lie. And it was all connected to Ukraine and Obama and Biden and Hillary. And then that didn't work. It ultimately failed because President Trump did nothing wrong, and because he's one of the strongest individuals on this earth, and he stood up against these monsters where other people, like maybe Richard Nixon, a few decades ago, didn't. He walked away because he was a threat to the establishment, and that's what Trump is. He's a threat to the deep state, and that's what it's all about. And not Bush, not Obama, not Biden. They align with the deep state. It's President Trump that's against the deep state and why he had to be attacked. Then they tried to say that they tried to impeach him, not just once but twice, with a very, very corrupt group of Democrats. The Democrat Party today is ran by people that support George Soros, that are happy to take his money and to stay in power. This is really sick. This party has become very, very divided now, but very grotesque, very anti-American. President Trump's pro-American. So that's the enemy right now of the Obama regime and the Biden regime and the Pelosi regime and the Hillary regime. And so the impeachments didn't work. So then they came in and they stole the election. And they stole it because it never should have been certified. There was too much evidence of wrongdoing to ever certify this election, and yet it was. There was pressure to do so. And then they set up a bunch of Trump supporters on January 6th, arrested some, killed 4, and that was a nightmare. And then President Trump made it through that. They tried to create this lie that Trump's an insurrectionist. Total lie. They shut down, they censored him, they censored all of us. And by the way, Jim and I then get sued by this couple in Georgia for defamation. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. in Milwaukee tomorrow morning at 10. We're going to do a live feed where we're going to talk about the 2020 election, what happened there, why we need to be aware of this, especially going into the 2024 election, and why we did nothing wrong, but there was all sorts of wrongdoing in Georgia at that time. And so anyways, that's going on. And then I'm sorry I'm jumping all over Guya, but the point is there's so much going on, but it's also it's been this pattern, it's been this journey of kill Trump. And it started a long time ago. And there was even an effort in 2016 where one guy shows up at a rally with a fake gun, puts something up that looks like a gun, he gets tackled, and then he claims he was abused by Trump supporters who took him down when it looked like he had a gun. And so that, I remember Trump. Trump was escorted off stage when that happened. And that was the first time we saw this. Now we saw it again this weekend. And it's because what they did next was lawfare. We call it lawfare. It was really the persecution and prosecution of an innocent man or woman, or like Jim and I getting prosecuted for sharing the truth. President Trump has done nothing wrong. They put him in front of a crazy lady who claims that he raped her some years ago. She can't tell us the day, month, or year, but the corrupt judge allows her case to move forward and then finds Trump guilty of sexually abusing this woman. Trump says, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think I will say that judge sexually abused me a couple of decades ago. I don't remember where and when.
You're right.
I don't remember where and when, but I'm gonna go and sue him directly.
And I will be a witness.
And I want $83 million.
There you go. And that's what they're doing. Then they take Trump's money. They take millions from Trump.
I'm sure about it. I'm sure about it. I was in a department store somewhere in America, but I don't remember where.
You can remember. You can't remember the day, but you remember what you were wearing.
I remember it was that judge.
Right. And it happened in a dressing room with 50 people around.
Yes, everybody was around. They didn't notice.
Yeah,
no.
in the most expensive, exquisite.
I was shouting, but nobody came in the little room.
No. There's 10 people trying to sell you stuff because it's so expensive and the nicest, fashion.
Somebody should, Joe. Somebody should. Some woman should go and sue precisely that judge with the same accusation, and they should take her seriously.
You're absolutely right. It's because it's lunacy. They took away his alibi because they wouldn't tell him the day, so he can't look at his journal and say, "Oh, on that day I was in Cincinnati or I was in Italy." He can't do that because they didn't even give him that. The whole thing's everybody knows it's a fantasy, but then they claim he's a convicted rapist. Well, that's not true. He wasn't even convicted of that. It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. Everything is outrageous. What has been going on, and it is incredible. I have seen just a little to respond to when you said about Nixon and other people. You know what's the difference between Trump and every other president is that President Trump has the American people behind him like no other president has. That is his strength. And the American people that are awake.
Yeah.
Because they overdid it so much that now people just, like the boy crying wolf, that's how you say, in America, the boy crying wolf. They have been overdoing it so much that now people just see that they're just total ridiculous. But you know what, Joe? Let me tell you, I thought about it. This morning I was actually thinking, this assassination to Donald Trump, and then I wanted to know your ideas about the hand behind this assassination. But what the left had, the Bidens had against Trump, the only thing that they had was no argument upon the economy. It was no argument upon immigration. There's no argument about inflation. There's no argument on foreign policy or on war. Nothing. They have nothing to argue to say to make themselves better than Trump. The only thing they had was a slander. The only thing they had was bad words. The only thing they had was incendiary rhetoric, like that he is Hitler, that he is a dictator, that he is whatever, that if he goes in office, democracy is ended. forgetting that he has already been in office for 4 years and it didn't happen. And America just was boomed, was just prospering. Okay. But apart from this, now that they tried to kill Trump, now they don't even have this anymore. They can't go around and say, "Oh, Trump is," because people will just hate any Hollywood. And if Robert De Niro, apart from the fact that for us in the rest of the world, apart from America, it's a mystery why Americans have to listen to actors. Nobody else. But anyway, if a Robert De Niro comes out or a George Clooney comes out and says something bad about Trump, the American people will lose their career forever, because they cannot attack now a man that has been that they tried to assassinate. They cannot. It's too much burden. And the media, the joy reads, of the situation, cannot go around again, continue this. And so the only weapon they had, they lost it now.
Yeah, well, you're right, and they'll do it again. The assassination attempt, it's
They will
not over
try
for sure.
again.
They'll bomb a building if they have to. They hate Trump and they love power, and he's such a threat to the globalists, not just in the U.S., but I think across Europe and the world. And so, yeah, what they did then was this lawfare. I mentioned that, but the problem was about 2 weeks ago, almost to the day, the U.S. Supreme Court came in and said, no, Trump's right. He's got immunity. You can't charge a president for things that he did as president because you don't like them, because you have a different interpretation of what he did. If he is doing these things as president, he cannot be judged in a court of law. That's his right as president. That's why he's there. And Congress doesn't have that right to judge him. Courts don't have that right to judge him. You can judge him in the venue of the public arena where people can share things. Although in the United States, we don't have that fully right now because of the massive censorship. But that took away these major cases with President Trump. And then yesterday, we just saw this big case in Florida get thrown out, in part because of that, and in part because this crook that Joe Biden brought over, who was over in Europe, came back. They appointed him special counsel. There's no legal basis for that to happen. The judge here in Florida said, no, you're done. This case is done. You have no right to be running this case. The whole thing's dismissed. So that was another huge win. But that's what they realized 2 weeks ago. We can't put him in prison for the rest of his life like they wanted to. They were trying to. And there was even a group of U.S. representatives that had already proposed a bill to take away all Secret Service from President Trump because if he's a convicted felon. These same people came out on Saturday and said one of these big clowns, Bernie something, from just a big fat guy who's dumb as a box of rocks, comes out with a tweet that says, I'm so happy that President Trump is safe today. And people are like, dude, and on Twitter, there was people saying, hey, this guy wanted to take away his Secret Service. So the clown show's over. Everybody saw it. And the other thing that was very damaging was not just the courts, but Joe Biden getting in front of the public people in this debate with President Trump and totally showing the reality that our media has been lying about this guy, that it's not fake news that this guy's a clown. It's real. And they got mud on their face. And so their credibility is at all-time lows. Biden's is at all-time lows. And the courts say, you can't throw President Trump in prison forever. And so all of a sudden, this was their only option left.
Yes, and Joe, one argument that I hear sometimes now from journalists of the left who still double down on their terrible way of talking about Donald Trump. And they say, well, because it's Donald Trump's fault, because he said that the media is the enemy of the people, because he says this, because he insults people here and there. But I want to argue with this argument that does not stand on itself, because who started? Who started lying? Why does Trump say that the media is fake news? Why? Because he woke up in the morning and said, the media is fake news. No, he said it because you are fake news, because you have been lying to the American people before, during, and still today.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are people who insult Trump, because you are people who attack viciously and kill mediatically people that you don't like. He always been doing that. People see it. Trump saw it very clearly. He called you out. And now you say, well, this happened because Trump has always been so aggressive towards the media and towards. No, Trump has
No.
been aggressive against the media because you began being what you
Well,
always have been,
in
right?
self-defense. In
Right? It's
self-defense.
self-defense. He
My
is he
God.
is reacting to your
Yeah.
viciousness.
Oh, their
And
lies. It's
now they say, right? Am I wrong?
No, well, I'm
So,
just thinking about this article back in 2016. This one great author, a journalist, writes, well, the left is destroyed. The media is destroyed. It's lost all credibility. This is
yeah,
in 2016. And he goes,
2016.
so they've got a choice now. Either they're
Well,
going to try to get back in line and share the truth, or they can go down this road of towards hell. And the media chose the road towards hell. They are not getting better. They're still toxic, maybe more so than ever. And even Joe Biden on Friday, the day before the assassination, was saying nasty things about Trump, how he should be removed. So this is
the
their what they're
bullseye,
being.
right?
This is what they say, and
Mhm.
they've taken it from lying about Trump to saying this guy needs to be killed. So then that, like you said, so that leads to the incident on Saturday, and I'm with my brother on the phone, another guy, and we find out, oh my God, Trump's been shot. And we all dropped everything and we just jumped on social media and turned on whatever channel we could get to tell us what had happened. And we were in shock and we were concerned. And I remember seeing this. And a guy from Wisconsin who's done an incredible amount of work there to make things better calls me up crying, saying, Joe, they just shot President Trump. And my daughter calls me up crying,
Poor baby.
Dad, they just shot President Trump. And then we see this man get up, and I couldn't tell exactly what he was saying. I thought he might be cussing, like saying "f you" is how he'd say it, and instead, no, there was no "you" there. And then we realized this guy's standing with his fist raised after being shot by an assassin, and he's saying, "Fight, fight." And I'm telling you, those pictures, that moment is one of the most remarkable, moments in my life, to see that courage and really spirituality of this man who's it's like Jesus standing up to the devil. Maybe this is too much, but to say we're not going with this evil anymore. We're done. We're gonna fight evil with all we got, because that's what's going on here. It's a spiritual war, and we see how their path leads to death. And I even had this great former U.S. Representative Michelle Bachmann on my show
Mhm.
share with me a couple years ago that Biden's administration is the administration of death. And she couldn't have been more profound. It was at the time that Afghanistan happened, and then and with the abortion, the pro-abortion, and all these efforts that are all related to death. Now they've even committed an assassination, not against a foreign country, against their political enemy in the United States, President Trump. It's amazing what we've seen. It's amazing.
Yes, it's amazing, and there is a divine power here that is at play, because the way that the left, the globalists, these evil people that are just trying to destroy our planet and all the populations and getting everybody against everybody, there is such division. They're creating this chaos. They're destroyers, and what at every hit they take, it goes back at them 100 times more. And the harder they hit, the harder this divine power hits them back. And they
Yeah.
are self destroying themselves.
Yeah.
It is incredible. And
Did you
everybody
did
notices this.
Yes, did you see from Saturday. The President Trump turns his head, and
Yeah.
the shooter was to, I believe, his right. The bullet would be coming here towards the side of his head. He
I
happens
don't
to
want to think about
turn. Yeah, and he looks up at the screen at the last minute, though, and just adjusts his head just slightly, and they hit his ear. And people are saying that was an act of God.
it.
This
Yes,
guy,
yes.
if he had not
100%.
moved his head, he would be dead. It was so
Not only
close.
not only Trump would be dead, but the consequences on the world. If Trump hadn't been, if this evil act had succeeded, and that Trump would be in paradise right now. Just imagine in what situation we would be right now. Just imagine
Oh,
how
yeah,
the world would be in flames, not just the United States.
yeah,
And this was probably why did they want to kill Donald Trump? Because they didn't want him to become president, or did they want to create a casus belli, to create a civil war in America? And get the bad guys to win this civil war because they were prepared with all the illegals in and all these weapons that have been spreading around the country and all the corrupt national guards that are
yeah.
under there, and maybe lose this civil war. And what would happen to the American Constitution? Remember, I am now talking to the Italian, this isn't for the Italian people, but now I'm talking to the Americans. Always remember, the American Constitution is the only constitution that guarantees freedom, not only to the Americans, but to the world, including us Europeans here, because we take the United States as a model. So if the freedom falls in America, if there's no more freedom, we're all under the tyranny like in the Middle Ages. Okay, finito. And the globalists don't like this. Globalists don't want it because they are tyrants. They want to dictate the whole world what to do. But if there is one country, and which is, by the way, also the most powerful country, that they cannot govern, they have no. Is America? They have to destroy the America. Trump is in the way. When Trump always says they don't want to get at me, they want to get at you. In truth, they want to get at the American Constitution. And Trump is in the way, and the American
Amen.
people is in the way. So I really hope that I am certain that the Americans will vote for Donald Trump. If there's going to be a 2% that will not vote for Donald Trump, it's a 2% that probably would need to go to a psychiatrist by this time. My personal opinion, my personal opinion. But because it's not a matter of voting Donald Trump, it's a matter of voting for your own freedom. So whoever doesn't want freedom, okay, you go ahead and vote for whoever is on the other. It's not Biden. They could put up anybody. They could put out Mr. X. Okay, you can go, but if you vote for Mr. X of that side, you will be voting for your own chains,
Yeah,
in the jail
yeah,
forever.
yeah.
So in conclusion, we have 5 minutes or less, Joe. I really want to know, now you will be going to Milwaukee. What do you expect? I have been watching a little bit yesterday here and there. I saw JD Vance has been selected as his vice
Yeah,
president.
right.
I know he had bad words about him many years ago, but he was very young. He was probably 32 when he said those things, and I'm sure he learned a little bit more diplomacy, because when you are a politician, you cannot insult people like that before knowing things, right?
Mm.
I'm sure it's going to be a good lesson, but it seems he's young and he's committed, and he has a good relationship with his family. What can you tell us about the new vice president and about your trip now to Milwaukee? What will you expect? Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so JD Vance, I don't really know a lot about him. I haven't met him, but I've heard early on that he was not a Trumpster, so that gave
No,
me big alarms.
me
And
too.
but I've heard that Tucker Carlson yesterday came out and said, "Well, here's what I know about JD Vance. Everybody in DC hates him." And Tucker says, "And I know all these sleazebags in D.C., these bad people, and if they don't like him, that's a good thing. And
Mm.
so that was his assessment. I believe that he is, the fact that he's not liked by our enemies really is a good thing. So that's what I've heard about him. He's a young man, and so he'll be around. They wanted to get somebody young. He's from Ohio too, which is a key state, as well as the Midwest. These states of
Mhm.
Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania that
Mhm.
all could be stolen again. So it's a good move by President Trump. The timing
Yeah.
was unbelievable. Trump
Mhm.
showing up Monday night at the
Mhm.
RNC was a was a big shock. Nobody expected to see him so soon.
Yeah.
He's an American icon now, a hero
Yeah.
that'll go down in history forever. And the media will try to erase him, but it's impossible now. And as far as Wisconsin, then the weeks, there's probably going to be some more surprises, I expect. But
Mhm.
President
Mhm.
Trump will share on Thursday nights the expectation. We will be there Wednesday morning to talk about the elections and the truth, and standing and really share about standing up to the truth. So that's going to be in Madison. Gateway Pundit will be live streaming it, and I'll try to.
Regarding the elections, sorry if I interrupt. I just read that Elon Musk will offer is going to be funding like with 45 million a month. This association that in order to guarantee fair elections regarding the mail-in ballots. Can you please? Have you heard about it? This news?
I
I mean,
have
are
not.
there yes that.
I had somebody on my show who used to work at Google, who was a
Mhm.
whistleblower, who
Mhm.
shared with me that he was working with a group with Elon Musk that he couldn't
Mhm.
say anything about. This is a month or
Yeah.
two ago, and that their efforts were to help save this election. So
Yes.
that's great news because our
Yes.
elections are broke. I mean, we're using systems for our
Yeah.
elections that
Have they
aren't
have
secure.
will the next elections will they have measures to ensure a fairer system? Do you
Well,
think?
here's the big, downfall with all of this is the Republican Party hasn't stood up and demanded integrity in our elections. Instead, their policy is we're going to be too big to rig,
Mhm.
which leaves the assumption that they think everything's fine, which is very, very concerning to me. Having reviewed, audited basically our 2020 election, nothing it could be further from the truth. Our elections are not fine, and we'd better, we're gonna try to, it's up to us. It's up to each one of us in the United States to stand up and do what we can. I'm working with a group. We're coming up with a couple ideas for reconciliations on a daily basis in our elections. But there's so much that could be done, and we need, everybody needs to stand up and prevent any of this thievery from happening again in 2024. Because if they can steal, however, 100, say Joe Biden got 80 million votes, they'll do this. They'll say he got 100 million in order to
Yeah.
beat Trump. So
Certainly, and everybody will believe the 100 million votes for
yeah,
Biden. But look, Joe, I feel positive. I mean, they're doomed. They have no chance. They can steal whatever they want. I really believe all America will stay behind Donald Trump, especially after all he went through, especially after having shown what a strong man and a strong leader he is. And the first thing he thought when he got shot was not about himself, not about getting saving his feathers, like we say in Italy, but he thought about the American people that were there, and he thought about reassuring them.
yep. And
That
when he
is
raised,
such a gesture of altruism.
yep,
The people he is dedicated to America. The American people
wow.
understand this.
Yeah,
Um,
well, let me just say, when he raised
yeah.
his hand and the crowd saw that he raised his hand and he said fight, that
Yes.
crowd erupted with a cheer. It was amazing, and they start screaming USA USA. Amazing moment in history.
Amazing. Amazing, unforgettable, memorable. Okay, Joe, I thank you so much for having come and explained this whole situation. I was very passionate. I can hear you had your passion in your heart. It's a very, like I said, with a momentum. It's called like this in English. I understand the feeling that it must be so electrified, the air in America right now. Just to know that Italians cheer for Trump. We all hope for Trump to win. It's important even for us here. And I wish you a fantastic week and a great trip to Milwaukee. And I thank you so much. Everybody, please go and read The Steal, because it's something that you need to read, not just about the past elections. It's a matter of today. You have to understand how they're working to steal your elections, even right now. And as long as you want to change the system, that's what they do. That's what they do. They're all in your book. And in Italian, it's called Il Furto. And here it is. Okay. Grazie, Joe.
Thank you so much. Honor to be here.
I am honored. I'm the honored one. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you came, Joe. I see you soon. And again, have a good day. Ciao, ciao.
And we'll see you Friday. Okay?
Oh, yes. Yes, yeah. I will be your guest on Friday, right?
Can't wait. Can't wait. Yeah.
Okay,
I will
tell you
That'll be great.
Some thoughts from this side of the world.
That's great. Thanks so much. Have a great day. I'm off to Wisconsin now. I got to jump in my car, go to the airport. So.
Okay. Ciao, ciao.
See you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, thank you, everybody, for having watched this interview with Joe Hoft. It was incredible. The things he said, his passion, his energy is amazing. I adore Joe Hoft. He is such an altruistic man, and he does all this out of his heart. The book, and he gifted it to Italy in order for us to see the corruption that has been infiltrating and poisoning America. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time for another interview. Ciao a tutti. Bye bye.